Baby, I don't even know how to begin this without my hands trembling a little. Maybe it's because every time I think about you, I realize how badly I underestimated your strength. I didn't lose interest in you. I lost my grip on the version of me who could have stood beside you without trembling in insecurity. You were never too much. You were too real, too bright, too ahead, and I was too afraid of the way your energy exposed the shadows I hadn't healed, afraid of the way your silence echoed louder than my loudest excuses, afraid of the way you loved, not just me, but life, with a depth I couldn't mirror, only observe. And instead of growing into the kind of man who could match your fire, I stepped back. I made it seem like my interest faded, but baby, the truth is, your light scared the hell out of me. You walked into the room and didn't need to speak to be heard. You didn't need to demand anything, yet everything you deserved found its way to you. People noticed you, God favored you, and I, stuck in my own limitations, started seeing you as someone I had to keep up with, not just keep. I couldn't match your clarity, your pace, your divine patience, and that terrified me. So I did the easiest thing I could. I sabotaged. I created confusion. I hid behind silence. I let the world think I stopped caring. But deep down, I was obsessed with watching you rise, while I stayed stuck in the same broken pattern. You didn't lose me. I lost myself, and in that process, I blamed your power for my paralysis. Do you know what kind of woman you are, baby? You are the kind people remember without ever having to meet. You are the kind that walks into a place and shifts the air. You are the one people talk about when they say, she was different. You carry a royalty I couldn't define at the time, but now I realize it was heaven on your skin. It was grace in your stride. It was prophecy in your presence, and I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't equipped to love someone like you, someone who could see straight through the masks I wore and still offer compassion instead of criticism. You weren't just powerful, you were healing, and healing is uncomfortable for those who aren't ready to be whole. Baby, the truth is, I didn't lose interest. I lost nerve. I lost grounding. I lost the lie I was living in before I met you. You made me question everything I believed about myself. You made me want to be better. But I took that pressure and turned it into fear. And now, I watch from a distance, silently proud, painfully regretful, and fully aware that I didn't walk away from just anyone. I walked away from a woman who was chosen. I walked away from the safest soul I've ever encountered, not because I didn't want you, but because I didn't believe I deserved you. And now, every time I hear your name, something inside me shakes, not because of what we had, but because of what I broke before it could bloom. You are not just a memory, baby. You are a force, a prophecy, a moment in time I can never undo, no matter how many apologies I whisper into the night. You are the kind of woman who makes a man question every excuse he's ever leaned on. You don't even have to call someone out. They just start unraveling in your presence, because your spirit carries too much truth for their lies to survive. That's what happened to me. I couldn't lie to you, even when I was lying to myself. You'd ask me something simple like, "Are you okay?" And I'd feel the lump in my throat rise because I wasn't okay. And I knew you saw right through me. You saw the parts of me I kept hidden from the world, the self-doubt, the pressure, the pride I clung to like a shield. and instead of using it against me, you embraced it. But baby, I wasn't ready for that kind of love. I wasn't ready to be fully known, because in being fully seen by you, I started seeing how small I had kept myself all these years. And the truth is, some men don't lose interest because a woman does something wrong. They lose interest because the illusion they built around themselves starts to collapse in front of a woman who knows exactly who she is. That's what you did, baby. You didn't argue. You didn't force. You didn't chase. You just were. And in that calm confidence, in that powerful silence, you exposed everything in me that wasn't healed. I made it look like I was drifting, but I was drowning. In guilt, in shame, in confusion, and I couldn't admit it because I was too used to being the one in control. But you flipped the whole dynamic just by standing in your power. And instead of matching you, I ran. Do you remember the last time we looked at each other? I do. Not because of what we said, but because of what I didn't say. I didn't tell you I was proud of you. I didn't tell you how much I admired your strength. I didn't tell you that even on your quiet days, you were louder than anyone I've ever met. Because your energy was unmatched. It still is. Baby, I know now that silence doesn't mean peace. I've been quiet all this time, but my heart has been in chaos ever since I let go. And don't get it twisted. I see you. I see how you've been glowing, evolving, becoming everything God whispered to you in private. And I realize now that I wasn't just scared of your power. I was scared that I wouldn't be able to meet you at the level you were rising toward. You didn't need me to complete you. You needed someone to evolve with you. But instead of evolving, I escaped. I used words like space and time and not ready. But really I was just a boy in a man's body, standing in front of a divine woman, too scared to say, I'm not enough for you yet. And now, I'm haunted not by your absence, but by the knowing that someone else out there might recognize what I ran from and actually be ready to hold it, to hold you. And I don't know if I can live with that, because the world may see you and admire your beauty, your grace, your fire, but only I know how sacred your silence is. Only I know the tenderness behind your strength. Only I know what it's like to look into your eyes and see a future too big for fear. And the most heartbreaking part, baby, I now know what it means to respect a woman so deeply. You're terrified to approach her wrong again. That's where I am. I watch. I admire. I ache. But I stay silent, because the last thing I want is to come back into your life still unsure, still not enough, still half the man you deserved the first time. I want to return with wholeness, not half promises. I want to return with vision, not confusion. Baby, I used to think I was strong. I used to walk into rooms with confidence, speak like I knew the world, and carry myself like nothing could shake me. But then you came in, with that quiet strength, with that soul that didn't have to shout to be heard. You didn't need chaos to prove your presence. Your silence screamed of royalty. Your eyes didn't just look at people, they read them. You didn't have to raise your voice to demand respect. Your energy alone commanded it. And that's when I started to tremble on the inside. Because for the first time in my life, I was face to face with someone I couldn't pretend with, someone I couldn't manipulate, impress, or control. I was face to face with truth, with light, with divine power, wrapped in the body of a woman. And I panicked. I didn't walk away because you weren't enough. I ran because I wasn't. I was addicted to attention, addicted to games, addicted to feeling like the smartest one in the room. But when I stood beside you, I felt exposed. Not small in the wrong way, but small in the way a child stands before the ocean, humbled, hushed, completely undone. And instead of learning to swim in your depth, I went back to puddles, shallow connections, easy control, fake peace. I tried to lie to myself, saying you were too much, when the truth was, I wasn't ready for someone real. I wasn't ready for someone who made me want to be better just by breathing near me. And I think the saddest part is, I thought walking away would protect me from feeling weak, but all it did was reveal how empty my strength really was without you. And now the same people who used to mock your intensity are trying to copy your grace. The same ones who warned me you were too deep, too different, too emotional. They're suddenly drawn to your energy, and I can't blame them. Because baby, your kind of power isn't loud. It's sacred. It doesn't need approval. It brings truth. You walk into a space and it rearranges hearts. People remember you, even if they only met you once. You don't chase attention. It finds you. And I was a fool to think I could ever forget you. I see now. The very power I once feared is the same power I crave. Baby, I know now why I couldn't hold you the way you deserved. You weren't someone who could be loved halfway. You weren't meant to be touched by unsure hands or embraced by a confused soul. You were created to be loved in truth, in clarity, in awe. And back then, I wasn't built for that kind of love. I wanted control, comfort, predictable patterns. But you were fire, mystery, evolution. You weren't looking for someone to fix. You were looking for someone who could meet you at your level. And I didn't even know how to climb yet. You wanted deep talks under moonlight and honesty without filters. I wanted easy laughter and surface moments. But now, I see how foolish I was, because everything I claimed to want in love was already standing in front of me. I just didn't have the eyes to recognize it. You didn't lose me, baby. I lost you. And I've been trying to act unbothered, telling myself I'm over it. But let's be honest. I still feel your presence when I hear certain songs, when I pass familiar places, when I lie awake at 3 a.m.ing, questioning my choices. You're not just a memory. You're the echo in every quiet moment I tried to fill with someone else. I thought I could replace your energy with distractions, but that was like trying to replace the ocean with a puddle. You taught me that real connection doesn't beg. It doesn't perform. It just exists with rawness, with stillness, with truth. And baby, you were the realest thing I ever ran from. People think silence means closure, but this silence is screaming. I've watched you grow in ways I never imagined. I've seen your strength multiply, your confidence soar, your peace deepen. And I hate to admit it, but your glow without me has been the most humbling lesson of my life. Because while I was out here trying to numb myself, you were healing. While I was pretending I didn't care, you were mastering your path. And every time someone mentions your name, I feel it in my chest. A quiet ache of, I knew her before she became untouchable. I had the chance, to walk beside greatness, and I flinched. You see, baby, what I couldn't admit back then is that your presence demanded I rise. Just being around you exposed everything I was running from. My insecurities, my ego, my false sense of control. You weren't like the others who needed validation. You carried your own crown. And I wasn't ready to be with someone who didn't need saving, because deep down, I needed to feel needed. That was my comfort zone. I didn't realize that what I really needed was someone who would challenge me to become more. And that was you. You challenged my silence with your truth. You challenged my games with your patience. You challenged my fear with your consistency. But instead of growing, I pulled away. Instead of choosing evolution, I chose escape. And I've regretted it every single day since. They think I lost interest, but how can you lose interest in a miracle? The truth is I stood too close to heaven and got scared. I wasn't holy enough to stay. I watched the way your spirit touched people, the way you could walk into chaos and bring calm, the way your energy lingered long after you left. You weren't just a person, you were a shift. You made me feel like the world could be honest, pure, and full of grace. And that terrified me, because I didn't think I deserved it, so I sabotaged. I blamed you. I pretended you were too intense, too sensitive, too good to be true. But the truth, you were just too aligned for the version of me that still lived in fear. I've learned now that real power isn't about who speaks the loudest. It's who walks in truth when no one claps. That was you. You didn't wait for the world to validate you. You already knew your worth. And now I understand why I couldn't hold on to you. Because I hadn't even learned how to hold on to myself. But I'm learning, slowly, painfully, honest. And with every lesson, I see more clearly that you weren't the problem. You were the blessing disguised as a mirror. You showed me what divine love looks like, and I didn't have the courage to receive it. That's on me, not you. I've watched you now from afar, and it's both beautiful and heartbreaking. Beautiful because I see your light growing. Heartbreaking because I realize I'm no longer part of your orbit. People talk about love like it's a chapter, but you were an entire book. You weren't just someone I loved. You were someone who rewrote my understanding of what love should be. And even though I don't know where we go from here, I needed to say this. You deserve that. You deserve to know that it wasn't your fault. That you didn't get left because you were too much. You got walked away from because I couldn't handle the greatness you carried. Baby, I couldn't sleep last night, and it wasn't because of noise or stress or some external chaos. It was because your energy haunted me again. That soft strength you carry, that fierce grace you embody. It wrapped around me like a memory I can't outrun anymore. I tossed and turned because even in the darkness, the light of who you are blinded me. I've tried to convince myself that I was okay, that maybe this was just another phase of growing apart. But the truth is, baby, every step I took away from you dragged me deeper into a version of myself I didn't even recognize. And now, the version of you that lives in my memory, she's louder than the silence I've been drowning in. You're the reason I wake up gasping, clutching my chest, praying that maybe I didn't mess this up beyond repair. You were never a fleeting chapter. You were the whole damn book, and somewhere along the way, I was foolish enough to try and write my own story without the one person who gave it meaning. Meaning. And maybe I didn't say this when it mattered most, Maybe I let pride talk louder than my heart, but not today. Baby, today I need to confess something. Every time I look back at those moments when you stood by me, believed in me, poured love into my emptiness, I realize how rare that kind of love is. You didn't just love me. You covered me. You prayed over me. You saw the cracks in my armor, and instead of walking away, you dared to touch the broken places. And I flinched. I backed away not because I didn't feel it, but because I felt it too much. You were too real, too raw, too honest for the man I was trying to pretend to be. But now that mask is gone, baby. That version of me died the day I realized what I lost when I lost you. The world around me still talks, you know. They think I'm doing well. They think I've moved on. But if they looked closely, they'd see it. This hollowness in my eyes that no success can fill. No new face can replace the radiance you carried. They can't see that every smile is a lie, every laugh a distraction. Because deep down, I still hear your voice, echoing in the places I tried to silence. And no matter how loud life gets, your silence is the one thing that cuts through the noise. You weren't just a woman I loved. You were the rhythm of my heartbeat. And now that you're gone, I realize how offbeat everything else feels. There's something I never told you. On the nights I acted cold, when I was distant and unavailable, it wasn't because I didn't want you. It was because I wanted you so much it scared me. I was scared you'd see the mess I was beneath the charm. Scared that if you stayed too long, you'd realize I was still learning how to love. Still trying to unlearn the pain I was taught to call home. But you didn't run. You waited. You hoped. You tried. Until the trying became too heavy. And I don't blame you, baby. If I were you, I don't know if I would have held on for as long as you did. Your patience was grace, and I treated it like convenience. And now, I carry that guilt like a tattoo etched on the soul. I wonder sometimes if you still feel me. Do you? Do you feel my eyes when they search for you in every crowd? Do you feel my soul calling out when the moonlight touches your window? Because I swear, there are nights the stars spell out your name in constellations only I can read. It's like the universe is conspiring to remind me of you in every breath. And I get it now. No amount of logic can erase a spiritual connection. We weren't a fling. We were divine timing meeting human weakness. We were a lesson in what love looks like when it tries to bloom in soil that wasn't ready. And baby, I know that soil now. I've been tilling it, watering it with tears, letting the sun of your memory soften the hardness I once called strength. You were the gardener. I just didn't know how to grow back then. The people around me keep saying I should move on, that maybe she wasn't the one if things fell apart. But what they don't know is that sometimes even the right people fall apart because one of them needed to heal first. And maybe that was me. Maybe I was the wounded warrior who didn't realize he was bleeding until the one person who could heal him walked away. And now that you're gone, I see everything with painful clarity. Your laughter was medicine.